So, welcome all devotees for the ISKCON Seshadevurum's Srivasangan chapters, morning Srimad Bhagavad Gita class. Today we are discussing second chapter, 55th verse. So, we will read the verse and the translation first. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Prajahati Yada Kaman Sarvan Partha Manogathan Atmani Evatmana Tushtaha Stita Pragnas Tadochyate. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, O Partha, when a man gives up all varieties of desire for sense gratification, which arise from mental concoction, and when his mind, thus purified, finds satisfaction in the self alone, then he is said to be in pure transcendental consciousness. Okay, so we will discuss this verse. So this verse is in the second chapter, which is called Contents of Gita Summarized. And this section that we are referring to is actually a response by the Lord to a question posed by Arjuna. So Arjuna in the previous verse is actually saying, Arjuna uvacha stita prajnas ka bhasha samadhi stasya keshava stitadhi kim prabhaseta kim asita vracheta kim. So the translation is like this. Arjuna said, O Krishna, what are the symptoms of one whose consciousness is thus merged in transcendence? How does he speak and what is his language? How does he sit and how does he walk? So here Arjuna, earlier to this, Krishna was talking about a person who's who's in a state of pure consciousness, who's in a who's in a sense who's in a realized state of affairs, and how such a person would be engaged in devotional service. So when Krishna explained all these things, then Arjuna asked, okay, that's fine. So how do I identify such a person? What are the characteristics? Because, anything, it's a science, right? So it's not like many people say this is sentiment or, this is something abstract. This means the devotional service or spiritual science of self-realization or Krishna consciousness, whatever we have different words. But ultimately, everything is towards that Krishna consciousness. But anyone who's actually following this science of spiritual science and wanting to make progress, then is it sentiment that, okay, you may feel like that, but there's nothing like that, that kind of thing? Or is it scientific? That means when you do certain things, these are the results of that action. So that shows that there is something concrete in it, and anyone who does it in the right way, then they get the desired result. So that is important. So here Arjuna is trying to bring that out from Krishna. Okay, you are saying all these things because many of us keep saying, right, okay, we are doing, we don't know. Anyway, I mean, at least as devotees, if someone has asked you, have you seen Krishna? How many of us will be able to say, yes, I talk to him every day, so like this, are we able to say, or I have seen him that day, he was just walking by, I saw him. No, none of us can say that. I mean, at least I cannot say that. Generally, that is how the thing is. Then how is it that, people are able to dedicate their entire life pursuing something like this? So many people say, oh, this is very abstract. And in that, some people who take it up, but they feel it is abstract. And in that process, they give their own explanation to whatever it is. And it becomes some kind of a mental concoction again. Okay, I think this is what it is. And, when I do this, I feel this one. And therefore, so this kind of, that is what is actually more sentimental. But in reality, anything which is a structured scientific way, then when you do a certain set of processes, you get a certain set of results. So Arjuna wanted to identify that, so that we really know, okay, am I on the right track? Is this really working or not working? Or am I in a kind of a illusion or hallucination, even though I am thinking I am in the spiritual path? So all these questions come to our mind, and it is always important that we go back to these. There are many such things all over Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, where specific definitions are given, and when we can validate ourselves when we are practicing whether these things are actually manifesting, this is happening, that is happening, then we can know, okay, I have actually made some progress, or I am stagnant, or I have made good progress, whatever it is. So in that connection here, it is given specifically this particular verse we are talking about. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "O Partha, when a man gives up all varieties of desire for sense gratification, which arise from mental concoction, and when his mind, thus purified, finds satisfaction in the self alone, then he is said to be in pure transcendental consciousness." So this you'll find more verses which will talk a little more detailed as we go. For that, the main qualification mentioned here is that a man has to give all varieties of sense gratification. What type of sense gratification? Which arises out of mental concoction. So clearly there's no ambiguity, right? So one has to give sense gratification. What type of sense gratification? That which comes out of mental concoction. And when you do that, what happens? That is also answered. Then the consciousness is purified, which also means in a concocted state of sense gratification, one's consciousness is impure. That is to be understood. And then when we do these two things and you get a result of purification, how do you know the mind is purified? So very clearly, right, step by step, everything is there. First, one has to give all varieties of sense gratification arising out of concoction. When that happens, then there is purification. Okay, Baba, how do I know what is purification? I may give my own definition. Then he says, find satisfaction in the self alone. When that purification happens, this person will find satisfaction in the self alone. If that is the case, then he is in pure transcendental consciousness. This is what Krishna is saying. Now, if you have to get down more into the, actually before going there, I just wanted to relate this to this. So, for example, when we say, Prabhupada has quoted it elsewhere, he says, so you feel hungry. So when you feel hungry, now, how do you know the hunger is actually gone away? Right? So when you take some food, can you define that what is that feeling of hunger and what is that feeling of after eating, that satisfaction? Nobody can really define it in any particular way, but everybody knows I am now satisfied, right? They say what is the biggest dana one can do? What charity one can do? So it is mentioned the best dana, one best charity one can do is to offer prasada. Why? Why not giving some money? Why not giving some other things, like education and all that? They say this particular charity is one thing which, when done, the receiver is actually satisfied, right? If I have to say, okay, I give charity of money, there's nobody will be ever satisfied. I give you 1 crore of rupees. It would have been better if I had got 1 crore 20 lakh. Right? There's never a satisfaction when you receive something like this. But someone says, I'm giving you charity of prasada. Then after that, you want to give more. Well, says, so Prabhu, please, I'm satisfied. Please don't give me more. So this is actually the fact that you actually understand there is that clear feeling of that I am satisfied with that. That hunger feeling is actually satisfied. So like this, when we take the spiritual life, when we follow the process, we actually realize it within ourselves, and Krishna makes that happen. So these are the things that we should keep validating on and off. So now let's come to these uh, more specifics within this particular verse, what Prabhupada has written. So Prabhupada says, the Bhagavatam affirms that any person who is fully in Krishna consciousness or devotional service of the Lord has all the good qualities of the great sages, whereas a person who is not so transcendentally situated has no good qualification because he is sure to be taking refuge in his own mental concoction. So that is how he is defining this. If we have to go a little deep, how does that relate to this verse? So when we do anything based on some mental concoction means something which we are cooking it up ourselves in our head, which may or may not be true. So this is based on more on assumptions. I think many of the times people always start with this when you are in generally when you start preaching to people. They say, sir, according to me, this is what is things are. We don't have to do all this. They give their own definition. So that is called, mental concoction. That means you think according to your mind, based on possibly your experiences or what someone has told you. We can tend to form, mind tends to keep on assimilating knowledge, so-called knowledge from different sources, and it filters it based on our own whatever. I don't know how that thing works, but why you accepted this person's and not the other person's. We really don't know how to clearly define these things, but nonetheless, we are concocting in our head that this is what it is. But Prabhupada is saying when you concoct something like that, you are in an artificial platform. When you are in an artificial platform, how can you be confident that what your consciousness is in actually good state or not? Because this is more based on some speculation. Now, when you speculate, you say buses are coming, you think, oh my, this bus will go to that place where you want to go. You just get into that bus. Yes, there is a bus. This is real. And you are real. And you are getting into the bus is also real. But the question is where you want to go versus where this bus is going is not what is the aligned. You may want to go elsewhere, but you are going elsewhere. That means what? That is based on this mental concoction that this bus has come and this bus I am thinking it will go. Right? So that is the challenge. So then we need to be very clear that we should not be on the mental platform if we are wanting to have satisfaction or if we want to be in a state of good consciousness. Then he's saying one who's in Krishna consciousness is bound to have all the good qualities of the sages, means that person who's actually not speculating, then by dint of that foundation of his thinking, that itself is actually giving him all the good qualities. Good qualities here is basically when you are on the right path of finding the solution to the purpose of life, right? The good and bad can be in different context. Good in if a man who's from a country perspective, a good man is someone who pays this taxes, who does not violate the constitution, and so on and so forth. A good family man, a good husband. These are so the good and bad is defined based on the circumstances of what it is. But here we are talking about self-realization. So in that, what is good and bad? So when you think in that context, the good here is one who is in a position to actually come to the state of purifying his consciousness, and the one who is not able to come to this state of coming to this pure consciousness. So in that sense, a person who is actually trying to be Krishna conscious, because that is the ultimate goal of life. So it says, Vedaischa sarvair aham eva vedyaha. So the entire knowledge of spiritual consciousness is all based on the Vedic principles, right? If anybody is talking about something about some concept called God, then what is that? Where did it come from? Right? So the question itself, the animals don't think God or no God and all these things. Humans think. So when that thinking comes, what is the basis of all of that is our Vedic, what do you call the Vedas, that knowledge. Uh, and and that entire knowledge of all this Vedic or whatever spiritual you call it, like a Westerner may not know what is Vedic, but they also have this, what do you call this, uh, desire for some going beyond this bodily. What is this? Why am I here? They may also have this consciousness, but they may not define it as called Vedas or whatever. But that is also part of Vedas. That entire knowledge of self-realization, of understanding to go beyond the body is actually part of the Vedic knowledge. You may call it, you may not call it that way, but that is the reality. So when someone is having such a thinking, uh, I completely lost my trail of thoughts. So hmm, when the consciousness is actually thinking in this platform, there has to be a base. And Krishna is saying there, this entire knowledge of self-realization, what is the purpose? And he is saying, Vedaischa sarve ahamyeva vedyaha. So not simply calling it as Vedas is Vedas, but anyone who's having this self-realization thought process, then that knowledge also comes within the purview of what Krishna is talking about. Vedescha sarve. The purpose of all of that is to actually come to know me. So when one is situated in that platform of knowing, trying to know Krishna, then he is in the good side of the spiritual realization. That is what Prabhupada is saying. And he is not under mental concoction. That is important. That means he knows this is the bus route number, and this route number is officially going from this place to this place, and therefore I should get into this bus or I should not get into this bus. So there is no mental concoction here. You are clearly know route number 101 goes from this place to that place, and I am actually intending to go to that place only, so I get into this bus. Then there is no speculation or a mental concoction inside. So from that perspective, anyone who's in that mental concoction means he is going to now think, what is the purpose of my life? Who's not in mental concoction understands that the purpose of life is to Vedescha sarve rahameva vedyaha. But one who's in mental concoction will conclude, or there could be thousands of conclusions, but here the concept, the basic platform of those conclusions are based on the first, who am I? If I know who am I, then I know what I am supposed to do. If I don't even know, yesterday I was seeing one thing. There's a dog and a cat. I believe there some photo was put of a dog and a cat, and the dog was behaving like a cat. The dog was behaving like a cat. And I was curious, what is this? And so I was just reading that. And it said, the dog, because of association with the cat for a long time, it is thinking itself the cat. See, this is not a spiritual class or something there, whatever I read. But the material conclusion is also the same thing. And the owner was laughing and all that, but the dog did not mind it because it says this, it was very comfortable with what it was doing and thinking that I am a cat. So it's funny sometimes, but actually, if you have to put that to ourselves, it is same what we are doing. Knowingly, unknowingly, many times we know theoretically we are reading Bhagavad Gita, but how many of us are saying, no, I am not acting like a body? Like in this case, the example, the dog acting like a cat. So we acting like the body. No, we know theoretically, but how are we actually able to say, no, no, sir, I am actually not in bodily concept. I am completely in the consciousness state. No, very difficult. So this is a major challenge. One needs to uh, what do you call, come to the state of real realization, not theoretical realization. So when someone is thinking in a bodily concept that I am body and acting, then that is not the true platform, because we are by nature actually a soul. Just like that dog is a dog and not a cat. But the minute it is thinking like a cat, people are laughing at it. Similarly, our state also, when I think more in terms of, oh, I am body, I have to do these things, I am very serious. I am very sincerely, very positively working towards that. But the entire platform is wrong, So it becomes a laughing stock, you can give many examples. Sometimes if you go or see some lunatic fellows on the road, sometimes you see they will suddenly talk, I am prime minister, hey, you salute me, I am police officer, like that he will say. Everybody will be laughing there and avoiding that person, right? So they say, oh, what is wrong? It's completely in a wrong platform, right? And if we also identify that, then we are also labeled like that. The same thing when it comes to when we think I am the body and acting in that platform, maybe from the spiritual perspective, a person who's realized when he sees many a times, you will see that some people were talking so many of these things, then they realized people will smile at it. And here I am in deep trouble, you're smiling. Because the platform are different. Why I am smiling is like, sometimes you can relate all these things, practical examples, like the child, for example. A child may cry for something which is very, very silly, which from your grown-up state, you think, yeah, this is, like for example, a small chocolate taken away by another child, then he will start making a halla gulla of that. Or, you take away some small thing from his hand, then he will make a big thing. And everybody will be smiling and laughing. The child is going through such pain in his heart. Oh, this is gone, that chocolate is gone out of my hand, or that toy has been pulled away from me, or that particular toy which I am asking is not been given to me. But it is his world. He is in a deep state of agony. But parents or elders, when they say they smile at the child, then they don't, so why that is happening? Normally, when someone is crying, you will be very serious, right? But why are you smiling away here? That means the parent is in a much better consciousness and think, why are you making halla gulla of nothing at all? So the same way, when we are working from a bodily platform and going through so much of our emotions, more related to our senses, this is more of a very immature platform. So a realized person may see through this and say, he may smile at it or something like that. But actually, the expectation is we should not be working in this bodily platform and trying to get a satisfaction or what do you call, enjoyment from this sense gratification. And if we are doing that, that is in a mental state, that is in a impure consciousness. But if you are able to actually understand I am the soul and I start acting in that platform, then that platform is actually a real platform which should actually help me. This is considered as good, mentioned here, right? Like Prabhupada is mentioning. And if it is considered good, then I am on the right track. So the ultimate aim, therefore, is to try to keep ourselves uh, educated first and practice that I am not the body. And therefore, if I am soul, what am I supposed to do? That is where it is saying you situated in the self alone, it is mentioned. That also some people may say, Prabhu, I don't understand. It only says situated in the self alone. How do I understand the self alone? Again, that definition has been given. What is self? Self alone means what is the constitutional position of that particular entity. That is the meaning. You are situated in yourself means what is you are situated in your original identity. That is called self. So, Jivera Swarupa Hoy Krishnera Nitya Das is the answer to that. That means what is the original identity? Original identity is that I am a eternal servant of the Supreme Personality. That's all. So if one is able to have that thinking that I am not this body, I am not someone to satisfy with the gratification of my senses, but the senses of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because I am an eternal servitor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead called Krishna, then I am situated in self. That is the meaning. This particular verse talks about, right? Which arises from mental concoction, and when his mind thus purified, finds satisfaction in the self alone. That means you are situated in your original state. Just like this dog, if it is not thinking I am a cat, then it is remaining in a dog state, then that is its original state, in a very crude way. Similarly, that that lunatic person we talked about, if he's not thinking I am the police officer, I am the prime minister, but if he's thinking I am someone standing on the road with this status, then he is in his original constitution. Similarly, when we think I am the body, I am not in my original constitution, but when I'm thinking I am spirit soul, and that doesn't stop there, because many transcendentalists think that, okay, I am spirit soul, that okay, that is only identification of what you are. But that doesn't mean, if you simply know what you are, what is the use? You should be able to know if you are so and so, then what is it that your natural position is in that state. That state is actually that I am serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is why it said Jivera Swarupohoy, Krishnera Nityadas. So if I am in that state of self, then I have arrived. That is what this particular verse is actually talking about. So I end here. If there are any questions, comments, we can discuss. Hare Krishna. And Krishna, sorry, I just want to. So how do we achieve that? Is the question is, when we engage more and more and more in serving that Supreme Personality of Godhead in the beginning state, like how we are not physically able to, as I said, right? We are. If I have to ask, okay, you have been there for 6 months, 1 year, whatever you are in Krishna consciousness. So have you seen Krishna? Majority answer will be no. There will be few souls who have actually seen Krishna. We can't deny that. Prabhupada says, if you are simply asking 10 people whether you have seen Krishna, and all 10 people say, no, I have not seen. Therefore, you can't extend and conclude that, therefore, nobody has seen, therefore, there is no Krishna. That is not what it is. He says, I should think like, I have not seen a person who has seen Krishna. That should be the answer, rather than concluding to say, I have asked 10 people, nobody has seen, therefore there is no Krishna. On the other hand, I should say, I have still not seen a person who has seen Krishna. We know there are, in our movement, there are many people who have actually seen Krishna, starting from Srila Prabhupada. His spiritual masters, and they have all also. But I'm talking about, when we talk about this organization called ISKCON, for us, Prabhupada is the founder Acharya, and he is the beginning in that sense for us. So from him, there are many devotees, his disciples, and many of advanced devotees have seen Krishna. That we can't deny that. So when the question comes, therefore, I have not seen Krishna, but I am doing some service to Krishna. So that is the is the platform which, even though you have not experienced fully, you are on the right platform. Therefore, that is not mental concoction platform. Just like if I am not able to read, I am not a good, taking that bus example, what I was saying, I may not be having this material qualification, or I am from Karnataka, I don't know Hindi, I go to Delhi or somewhere, the bus, everything they are written in Hindi, I don't know. But I ask someone who knows Hindi, and he says, this bus is written, it will go to this place. You want to go to this chowk or whatever that chowk is. Go. Then based on that person's knowledge, I get into this bus, I will certainly go there. I still don't know whether that written, what is written, I myself, I don't know. But I know based on the authority of the other person who knows. So like this, so even then, we are situated in the correct, we are situated in the transcendental platform. We are situated in that, the truth, not in concoction. So this is very important. Therefore, as long as we are trying to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even though we have physically not arrived there, either mentally understanding Krishna consciousness or even seeing physically Krishna, I am still on the right platform. And there is no mental concoction. And as I keep going forward, serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his Archa Vigraha form, in serving his representatives, people or devotees who are serving him, when we serve such devotees who are serving the Lord, it is all the same, because Krishna is transcendental. Krishna is transcendental. His name, form, paraphernalia, everything is actually an extension. There is nothing like, we can't say, no, this is not Krishna, this is only Krishna. In a material way, we can say it is only this is that other things are having different names. But when it comes to Krishna consciousness, anything connected with Krishna attains that nature. So therefore, when we are serving a pure devotee, when you are serving the Archa Vigraha and naturally a temple, it is extension of that Archa Vigraha. The temple is there because of the Archa Vigraha. So when you serve in the temple, when you serve the words of the spiritual master, when you serve the authorities within that temple, then we are actually serving Krishna. So that way, once we keep doing it, it is also mentioned, once you do these things, this mental concoction automatically goes away. You don't have to do anything special. Prabhu, okay, I did this. Now should I do some yoga to get to that state? No need. You simply wash vessels in the temple. That is yoga enough. That will automatically take us to the state of getting out of this mental concoction. And when you get out of this mental concoction, we are situated in a pure consciousness. And that pure consciousness will make us understand Krishnera Nityadas, Jivera Swarupa Hoy, Krishnera Nityadas. So I end here. Thank you, Hare Krishna. Any
Hare
questions?
Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, thank you.